Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Won't you invite Kwan Yin into your heart? For unless there is an invitation, you cannot be sure that you will have the consciousness prepared to receive the mercy flame. Blessed children, for you to have the awareness of the scintillating fire of your own God presence shining forth to bestow upon your life all that you require. There must be a heart flame tutored, responsive to the flame of the I Am presence through the outer vehicles you wear, for there to be the acknowledgement of the presence of God. Perhaps I should describe for you what takes place when you invite the light into your life. The invitation, first and foremost, can only come from the consciousness that is residing within the flame upon the altar of your heart. This means for your mind to even begin to think of pursuing the light of God. There must be enough of the wisdom flame of illumination moving within your own outer vehicle to express such a thought. The same is true for the desire of the heart. When it is a pure desire that goes beyond the habitual, ingrained habits of the human endeavor that has been absent God. There must be enough of the love of your own heart flame, motivating the pursuit of the pure nature of God. For you to have the courage to pursue God, there must be enough of that love deposited into your consciousness to allow it to occur. And what of the will of God? Have you determined that come what may, you will make room for the will of your own God presence in your life? It does seem contrary that these outer vehicles would have to affirm the discipline, the desire, the wisdom to allow God into your life, when in reality your life is God in action. For this is why you have come. This is the breath that you breathe, the initiations and trials you go through, the love that you extend into any part of life, the consciousness that allows you to make the freedom of choice as to how you will live. There are those that think surely all this is conjured within the mind, and it is the driving force only for everything that is accomplished in life. But the true student of the path to the heart of God will know that it goes beyond what is possible within the intellect. That for love to expand, there must be more than what is possible within the desire of your own outer conditioning. And for you to have the recognition of what is the right course for you. When will you pursue a particular avenue of life? There must be more than the calculation of what seems to feel good at any given time. For the emotional body will lie as quickly as you would listen if you are to rely on your feelings. Then when you feel the light, what is it you feel? What is the experience? How do you begin to interpret it? Do you intellectualize what you have understood to be a difference? Do you begin to love that experience beyond any other love? Because it is new, because it is different. And have you determined that it must be a sign of the will of God that you must pursue? Surely you have been taught to observe the signs, but in that observation, is there illumination's flame from your own heart, teaching you what the sign is saying? You have understood that to be receptive to love from another, the heart must be open and loving. But what of those areas of life that bring you pain? Should you allow the heart to be open to such discomfort? And if you are to love unconditionally, how is this performed? If you are vulnerable and the heart so sensitive, you have heard the teaching that the fires of the heart, roaring in a glorious effulgence of God's love, knows not any self-concern, neither does it receive the slings and arrows of another's unreality. It only knows how to love, and in doing so, it is one's greatest protection. And what of the one who finds courage from time to time, fearlessness, but then there are those longer periods where one is filled with fear and shrinks back from the responsibilities of life? What of that one? Could it be that in the lack of attention to the daily communion with the heart of God, the reservoir of light becomes so diminished that it allows for the encroachment of fear, unrest, dis-ease, requiring a greater exertion of one's own striving to mount once more the accelerating spirals of light and engage in the fullness of courage and fearlessness once more. This you will learn by the constancy of your devotions. Ofttimes you will discover, much to your dismay, that in the lack of attention that you have given your devotions, you have been the one to allow for the encroachment of all manner of unreality, casting dispersions upon what would otherwise be a clear pain, reflecting the consciousness of your own Christed identity. I have given you these instructions so that you might recognize the responsibility that is within your grasp, so that you might attain to a greater awareness of the truth of who you are, not the unreality that is fostered by these outer vehicles, but the truth that would take its rightful place as the flame of love, of illumination, of the will of God in all of your affairs. For there to be the mercy of the heart of your own God presence bestowed upon you in those times of need, there must be enough of the generation of the fires of your own heart, striving, desiring God, loving, sacrificing of one's own heart flame for another. And protecting the very flame of God that is yet to discover its rightful place in the chalice of another life stream. For so many know not what is close at hand for them. They think that surely God is in some far-off world, sitting upon a throne and waiting for the right cycle to bestow the blessings and grace of his or her heart. But you, as the sincere student of the light, understand that God is ever close at hand, as close as the breath, as your own beating heart, as the thought that you might have, or the emotion that you might experience. For you have called for the flame upon the altar of your heart to expand, to fill your chalice, to impart to your consciousness the divine thoughts that are for your highest and best. The divine love of God to radiate through you, establishing the reason for every action, every engagement in life. And for the desire for the will of God to keep you in the fullness of every aspect of life that is perfect for you and for your brothers and sisters of light. For it is not enough to think of oneself as solely the beneficiary of a beneficent God. When you enter the flow of the light of your God presence, it will so fill your chalice that you will not be able to contain it to yourself, and your only thought will be how to enter into service to another part of life, how to give of your own heart flame, how to care, how to constructively create so that more of God may come forth, how to fashion every word that goes from your own vehicle to be kind, caring, extending the comfort of the love of your heart. Every thought that you have are thoughts that are constructive, that are the building blocks of illumination, that telegraph to your own vehicles how you are to perform the courageous acts, the beneficent acts, and the fearless and courageous endeavors of life that go beyond what you can possibly begin to house within your own vehicles of consciousness. For they must be given, they must be shared. The selfless acts that would go before you mark how courageous and fearless is your heart. For you understand, when in the flow of the light of God, that each step, each erg of energy that flows through you is exerting some action of the fires of your own heart that come from the source of your being. And that is very good. And is this not what all desire? To live a life that is good, holy, and glorious in the light. Once you have learned certain lessons along the way. You will realize that you no longer think of whether you are sacrificing of your own heart, whether you are giving of your own talent, or whether you are even striving any longer. For you will be so caught up in the acceleration of your life by the guiding hand of your own God presence. There will no longer be the concern. You will be in the reality of your true identity as the Christ light, giving of itself, wanting for nothing, but all the while receiving all. This, blessed hearts, is the mercy of God. For when you allow for the flow of the love of your God presence to accelerate through the fires of the heart, you know the true mercy of God. You are not alone. You are not living a life that is absent the love, wisdom, and power of your own God presence. Oh, how I, Kwan Yin, desire to impart this to each child of light. For so many are so far removed from this consciousness, and yet they are so close. How could it possibly have ever come to such a state where so many are bereft and void of the reality of God? When you no longer allow for superstitions, for your own unreality, to be the course that you follow, then the fires of the heart will expand, and you will know the light of God. How I would impart to you every nuance required to have this reality here and now. Begin where you are, without regret of yesterday, putting into the flame the past and allowing the flame of the heart to chart your future. For only when there is enough of the fires of the heart engaged into your outer vehicles can you be sure that you are in pursuit of the divine will of your God presence. Blessed hearts, much is said from this altar that you may take and ponder, transferring it to your own victory. I trust that you will always be reminded that no teaching or instruction will ever hold any importance to you if it is not put into practice. For it is internalizing the light, the consciousness that allows you to build a momentum of victory for yourself. As you move through life, guard your consciousness so that you do not allow for things to be sewn into the fabric of your outer vehicles that take you from the purity of the flame that is burning upon the altar of your heart. I stand guard over the fires of the heart for all who desire the mercy flame of God, clearing away all that will be allowed to go into the flame that would stand as opposition to your life stream. Your heart is pure. Let that purity take its rightful place. I, Kwan Yin, release mercy's flame as an action of transmutation to all those who desire the presence of God here and now.